You're sitting there right now with that corrosive feeling in your chest, that invisible bite only you feel when it crosses yet another line. You've forgiven so many times you've lost count. But today, right now, this very second, I'm going to give you the 6 behaviors you should never forgive in a woman. And the reason is simple. Every time you forgive the unforgivable, you're not being noble, you're signing your own emotional death warrant. Listen, you've been programmed to believe that forgiveness is divine, that tolerance is love, that swallowing frogs is maturity. A lie, a devastating lie that is costing you your sanity, your masculinity, and your ability to build something real with someone. The truth no one tells you is this: there is a category of female behaviors that, when you forgive them, you are not saving the relationship. You are digging your own psychological grave. And she's there, shovel in hand, watching you do all the heavy lifting. I'm going to tell you something that will hurt. Every time you let fundamental disrespect slide, every time you pretend you didn't see that subtle betrayal, every time you swallow that public humiliation and smile, you're not being an understanding man. You're being an emotional hostage. And the worst part? She knows it. Deep down, in the primitive core of her brain, she registers every time you fail to maintain your frame. And her attraction to you dies a little more. Think with me. Have you noticed how she tests you more when you forgive more? How the offenses become bolder when you show more understanding? It's no coincidence. It's pure mechanics. The less you protect your psychological territory, the more she invades. It's a vicious cycle that you feed with your own passivity disguised as kindness. Now comes the inversion that will change everything. Common sense has taught you that relationships are about compromise, about yielding, about always forgiving. Romantic nonsense that Hollywood sold and you bought. The real mechanics are different. Healthy relationships operate on mutual respect, and respect only exists where there are clear boundaries. When you forgive the unforgivable, you are not building love, you are destroying respect. And without respect, there is no attraction. Without attraction, you become her emotional jailer, and she becomes your resentful prisoner. Here is your new reality. Tolerating certain destructive female behaviors is not a sign of love. It's a sign of a lack of self-respect that undermines your attraction, your frame, and the health of the relationship. Period. No argument. This is the fundamental law that governs the dynamic between you and any woman. Ignore it at your own peril. Imagine your relationship as a court of personal integrity. You are the supreme judge. Every one of her behaviors is evidence presented, and you need to deliver the verdict. Acceptable or unacceptable. There is no middle ground in this court. There is no more or less when it comes to your integrity. Either you uphold the law, or the court turns into a circus where any clown can enter and do as they please. Let's meet the defendants. The 6 criminal behaviors you need to judge without mercy. First, unforgivable behavior. The chronic boundary test. You know when she pushes that subtle boundary just to see your reaction? She shows up 40 minutes late for an important dinner with your parents. No warning, no real apology. And she still expects you to smile and say it's okay. Or when she cancels that commitment you've had for weeks, 5 minutes beforehand, because something came up. And you swallow it. Always swallow it. Every time you let it slide, you're teaching her that your boundaries are suggestions, not laws. And she will push more. Always more. Until there's nothing left of you but an empty shell, trying to please someone who has lost all respect for you. Second, unforgivable behavior. Professional victimhood. This is the woman who has turned the role of victim into an art. Every argument ends with her crying about how unfair life is to her. Every one of her mistakes has an elaborate emotional excuse. Did she emotionally cheat on you? It was because her father was distant. Did she lie? It was work stress. Did she humiliate you? You just don't understand the pressure she's under. And you, emotional idiot that you are, fall into the trap every time. You buy the narrative. You become the villain of your own life, so she can be the suffering heroine. Stop. Now. Chronic victimhood is high-level emotional manipulation. It's her avoiding responsibility by using your emotions as hostages. Third, unforgivable behavior, public disqualification. This is deadly, lethal to your reputation and your frame. You're at a cookout with friends. She lets slip that little joke about how you can't even change a tire, or tells that funny story about when you cried watching a movie, or worse, makes that subtle comment about your finances, your performance, your masculinity, and everyone laughs. You laugh along so as not to seem insecure. But inside, something dies. Listen carefully. A woman who disqualifies you in public does not respect you in private. It's impossible. It's contradictory. If she's willing to belittle you in front of others to score some social points, she already sees you as disposable. Let me tell you about Andrew, 35, a successful architect. 5 years with Carla, a lawyer, 28, intelligent, beautiful, seemingly perfect. But she had this poisonous habit. At every dinner with friends, she'd drop her gems. She'd mock his hobbies, question his professional decisions in front of others. Once, at an important dinner with his clients, she made a joke about him being a bit slow with technology. The clients laughed uncomfortably. Andrew swallowed it, as he always did, to keep the peace, to avoid making a scene, until the day he woke up. At a birthday dinner, she started again, this time about his financial skills. Andrew stopped eating, looked into her eyes, and said, calm but firm, "Carla, what you just did is disrespectful. If it happens again, I will leave. I will no longer tolerate being belittled in public." Deadly silence. She tried to laugh, to say it was a joke. He held her gaze. She stopped, and she never repeated it. A miracle? No, pure mechanics. She just needed to know where the line was. Fourth, unforgivable behavior. Hypocritical double punishment. This is subtle but devastating. She punishes you for behaviors she herself practices. She criticizes you for going out with friends, but spends entire weekends with her friends. She gets furious if you take too long to reply to a message, but disappears for hours on WhatsApp. She demands total transparency about your finances, but hides her own spending. It's institutionalized hypocrisy. And you accept it because that's just how relationships are. It's not. This is manipulation through double standards. She is creating a dynamic where she has all the rights and you have all the obligations. Fifth, unforgivable behavior. Silent sabotage. This is the most treacherous because it operates in the shadows. She forgets to tell you about that important meeting, constantly criticizes your personal projects, makes subtle comments that undermine your self-confidence, creates petty drama just when you have something important to do, complains about your hobbies, competes with your friends for your attention. All of this masked as concern or care. A lie. It's pure sabotage. She doesn't want your success. She wants you small, manageable, dependent. Because an accomplished, confident man can choose, and she's afraid of not being chosen. Sixth, unforgivable behavior. The betrayal of sacred trust. And here, I'm not just talking about physical infidelity. I'm talking about breaking fundamental agreements. You confide a secret, she tells her friends. You agree on emotional exclusivity. She keeps ex-boyfriends orbiting. You share a vulnerability. She uses it against you in an argument. You set a boundary. She deliberately crosses it. This is not human error. It's a breach of contract. It's her showing you that your word, your feelings, your boundaries mean nothing to her. And if they mean nothing to her, why should they mean anything to you? Let me tell you about Marcus, 40, a digital entrepreneur. He met Julia, 32, a graphic designer. Beautiful, charismatic, seemingly mature. But she had a pattern. She was late, always. Canceled dates at the last minute. Took days to reply to messages. Marcus forgave her. After all, she was special. Until the day of his product launch event. She confirmed her attendance 3 times. On the day, 15 minutes before, a message. "Honey, something unexpected came up." Marcus looked at his phone, looked at the room full of important people, and made a decision. He replied, "No problem. You don't need to worry about attending my events anymore. Or my life." And he blocked her. She freaked out, called from other numbers, sent long texts, showed up at his house. But Marcus stuck to his decision. You know what happened? 3 months later, he met someone who arrived 15 minutes early for every date, who replied to messages in minutes, who treated his time as sacred. Coincidence? No. When you close the door to disrespect, you open the door to value. Now comes the part you don't want to hear, the mistakes you make every single time, and that turn you into a premium emotional doormat. Mistake number 1, justifying the unjustifiable. You become her defense attorney. You invent excuses she didn't even think of herself. She had a difficult childhood. She's stressed with work. She didn't mean any harm. Every excuse you invent is another brick in the prison you're building for yourself. Because as long as you justify, she learns she can continue. And she will continue until you have no more excuses or sanity. Mistake number 2, the naive hope for spontaneous change. You believe that one day she will wake up transformed, that love will perform a miracle, that she will realize on her own how much she hurts you. Wake up. People don't change without consequences. It's a universal law. Without external pressure, every system tends toward entropy. Your relationship is no exception. If you don't impose consequences, there's no reason for change. Mistake number 3, the empty threat. This is pathetic. You say you won't tolerate it, that next time it will be different, that you have boundaries. She crosses them. You do nothing. She crosses them again. You make more threats. It's a vicious cycle of announced impotence. Every empty threat is a nail in the coffin of your credibility. She learns that your words have no weight, that you're just noise, and she treats you accordingly. Mistake number 4, minimizing the impact. You convince yourself that it wasn't that bad, that you're exaggerating, that you're being dramatic. This is the gaslighting you do to yourself. If it hurt, it was serious. If it violated your values, it was serious. If it made you question your worth, it was serious. Stop minimizing your own experience to make her life easier. Mistake number 5, the court of public opinion. You ask for opinions from friends, from family, from the dog. Everyone has a theory. Your mom says to be patient. Your married friend says it's normal. Your single friend says to break up, and you get more confused. Outside opinion is noise. The only court that matters is yours. Your values, your boundaries, your integrity. Mistake number 6, the supreme sacrifice of self. You put peace above your peace, the relationship above your self-respect, her above you, and you become a modern martyr, crucified on the altar of a love that no longer even exists. Because love without respect is just emotional dependency with a pretty name. Richard, 48, a university professor, 15 years, married to Marcia, 45, an HR manager, an intelligent woman, a good mother, but with an addiction, lying, about small things, where she was, how much she spent, who she talked to. Richard always forgave her, to keep the peace, to avoid traumatizing the children, until the day he discovered a big lie, a hidden bank account. It wasn't infidelity. It was worse. It was the realization that 15 years of his life had been built on quicksand. He could have exploded. He could have made a scene. Instead, he sat down with her, calm, surgical. Marcia, trust is the foundation of everything we have. If another lie appears, any lie, we will separate. It's not a threat. It's a natural consequence. I cannot live without trusting the person next to me. She cried, denied, minimized. He held his ground, and something changed. She sought therapy, started being transparent almost obsessively. The marriage not only survived, it was reborn, but only because he finally drew the line in the sand. The problem is that you've been programmed to be the hero who saves the damsel. But what if the damsel doesn't want to be saved? What if she wants to drag you into the tower with her? What if the dragon in the story is her? I'm going to give you the protocol, the instruction manual no one gave you. 6 surgical steps for you to stop being the emotional doormat and become the man she truly respects. Step 1. Identify the pattern with clinical precision. It's not about an isolated event. It's about repetition. Did she arrive late once? It happens. 3 times? A pattern. Did she disrespect you in public once? It might have been unintentional. 2, 3 times? An established pattern. You need to see beyond the event and identify the recurring behavior. Write it down if necessary, date, time, circumstance, not to use against her, to have clarity about what's happening, because clarity is your first power. Step 2. Define the boundary with brutal specificity. No, you need to respect me more. That's vague. It's useless. Be specific, like a legal contract. I will not tolerate being ridiculed in public. If it happens, I will immediately remove myself from the situation. Or lies, even small ones, are unacceptable. If I discover another, we will need to reevaluate this relationship. Specific, clear, no room for interpretation. Step 3. Establish the consequence and make it public. It's not a threat, it's cause and effect. If you cancel another last-minute commitment, I will stop making plans that include you. If you share our private conversations with your friends again, I will stop sharing personal things with you. The consequence needs to be proportional, executable, and, most importantly, something you are willing to follow through on. Step 4. Execute without drama, without anger, without additional explanation. Did she cross the boundary? Execute the consequence. Period. Don't explain again. Don't justify. Don't negotiate. She knows what she did. The consequence is the communication. Any additional words are you weakening your own position. Actions speak louder than 1,000 long text messages on WhatsApp. Step 5. Evaluate the response and not the discourse. She will promise change. She will cry. She will say she understood. Ignore it. Words are wind. Observe her behavior in the coming weeks. Has she genuinely changed, or is she just waiting for you to let your guard down? Is the change consistent, or is it just temporary makeup? Behavior is the only reliable indicator of real change. Step 6. Reaffirm your worth, regardless of the outcome. This is crucial, even if she changes, even if she improves, even if she becomes the perfect woman. Your worth does not depend on that. You set boundaries because you respect yourself, not to change her. You are the prize, not the other way around. If she can't respect your basic boundaries, the problem isn't yours, it's hers. And you are not a therapist to fix a broken adult. The brutal reality is this: most men prefer to live in the known hell than to risk the unknown paradise. You put up with disrespect because you're afraid of being alone. You tolerate manipulation because you think you don't deserve better. You accept crumbs because you forgot you deserve the feast. But here's the plot twist no one tells you. When you set ironclad boundaries, when you refuse to tolerate the intolerable, magic happens. Either she respects you in a way she never has, or she leaves your life. And in both cases, you win. Because either you gain a woman who values you, or you gain the freedom to find someone who does. I know what you're thinking now, but that's too harsh. I'll end up alone. No woman is perfect. And you're partly right. No one is perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. The issue isn't perfection. It's about minimum standards of respect. It's about behaviors that are fundamentally incompatible with a healthy relationship. Let me be brutal with you for a second. Do you know the difference between the man she respects and the man she uses? The first has non-negotiable boundaries. The second negotiates everything, including his own dignity. Which one have you been? Think about your current relationship. Or the last one you had. How many times did you swallow a frog and call it a kiss? How many times did you ignore that little voice inside you screaming that something was wrong? How many times did you betray yourself to keep someone who doesn't even value you? The truth is, every man has a war story. That time, she flirted with another guy in front of you, and you pretended not to see. That time, she exposed your intimacy to her friends, and you found out by accident. That time, she compared you to her ex, and you laughed as if it were a joke. Every time you let it slide, you died a little inside. And she noticed. Women have a radar for male weakness. It's evolutionary. It's instinctive. And every time you fail to maintain your frame, her vagina dries up a little more for you. Cruel? Yes. True? Absolutely. But it's not about her. It never was. It's about you. About the man you choose to be, about the standards you set for your own life. When you tolerate the intolerable, you're not being a nice guy, you're being cowardly. And cowardice in a man is a universal female repellent. The court is in session. You are the judge. Every one of her behaviors is evidence, and you need to deliver the verdict. But remember, In this court, you are also being judged by yourself, by the man you could be, by your future self who will look back and either thank you for your courage or curse you for your cowardice. There comes a moment in every man's life where he has to choose to continue being the nice guy everyone walks all over, or to become the man who respects himself and is respected. That moment is now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Now. Do you know why most men fail? Because they wait for the perfect moment, the perfect conversation, the perfect opportunity. Newsflash: there is no perfection when it comes to setting boundaries. There is only the raw decision to no longer tolerate what diminishes you. Let me tell you about the moment that changes everything. It's always small, always subtle. It's that second where she does something that crosses the line and she looks at you expecting the usual reaction. The faint smile, the "it's okay," the cowardly silence. But this time it's different. This time you look into her eyes and say no, calm, firm, no drama, just no. And the world changes. She changes. You change. The whole dynamic reconfigures. Because for the first time, perhaps in your entire life, you chose yourself. Is there a price? Of course there is. She might get furious. She might call you insecure. She might cry. She might threaten to break up. She might even break up. So what? Do you prefer to live on your knees in a relationship where you are not respected, or standing tall alone with your dignity intact? The answer to that question defines what kind of man you are. Look, I'm not here to sell you a dream. I'm not saying that setting boundaries will turn her into the perfect woman. I'm not promising that your relationship will turn into a fairy tale. What I am saying is more important. Setting boundaries will transform you into the man you're meant to be. And that man naturally attracts the respect you deserve. When you forgive the unforgivable, you're not being Christian, you're being an idiot. Christ forgave repentant sinners, not repeat abusers. There's a brutal difference between forgiveness and permissiveness. Forgiveness is for those who acknowledge their mistake and change. Permissiveness is for those who want to keep making mistakes without consequences. Your wife, girlfriend, or prospect is testing you right now. It might be subtle, it might be obvious, but the test is happening. And every time you fail, you lose points you can't get back. Female. Attraction is not negotiable. It's not rational. It's visceral. And viscerally, women cannot respect a man without a backbone. You must be thinking, but what about love? Love without respect is just emotional dependency in a pretty package. True love only exists between equals. And you are not equal when you are on your knees begging for crumbs of affection from someone who systematically disrespects you. The question you need to ask yourself is not whether she will change. It's whether you are willing to live like this if she doesn't change. Because that's the reality. Most don't change. Most only temporarily improve their act. And if you're not willing to execute the consequences, your boundaries are just a bluff. And she knows it. Every relationship has an invisible contract. The clauses are written in the first few months. And after that, it's almost impossible to renegotiate. If you accepted disrespect at the beginning, she expects you to accept it forever. That's why setting boundaries later is so difficult. You're trying to rewrite a contract she's already signed. But difficult doesn't mean impossible. It just requires you to be willing to lose the relationship to save your integrity. And if you're not willing to lose the relationship, you've already lost. Because negotiation only exists when both sides have the power to walk away. If she knows you'll never leave, why would she change anything? The paradox is this: the more willing you are to end it, the less likely you'll need to end it. Because the willingness to walk away is the ultimate demonstration of self-worth. And self-worth is the most potent aphrodisiac there is. But here's the warning. This is not a game. It's not a technique. It's not manipulation. It's simply you deciding that your integrity is worth more than any relationship. It's you understanding that it's better to be alone than in bad company. It's you finally waking up to the fact that you deserve basic respect. The 6 behaviors I listed are non-negotiable. They are not cultural. They are not a matter of opinion. They are fundamental violations of basic human respect. And if you are tolerating any of them, you are not in a relationship. You are in a toxic arrangement where you are the emotional punching bag. Do you know what the tragedy is? Most men will read this, agree, and do nothing. They will continue tolerating, continue forgiving, continue dying inside. Because change requires courage, and courage is the most scarce resource in the modern world. But you don't have to be the majority. You can be the exception. You can be the man who finally said enough, who drew the line, who chose his integrity over the false comfort of a rotten relationship. The clock is ticking. Every day that passes with you tolerating the intolerable is one less day of living with dignity. Every time you forgive the unforgivable is a piece of you that dies. And in the end, what's left? A ghost of the man you could have been. The choice is binary. Either you act now, today, at this moment, or you accept that you will live like this forever. There is no middle ground. There is no, I'll change gradually. Either you have boundaries or you don't. Either you respect yourself or you don't. So here's the ultimatum. In the next 7 days, you will identify which of these 6 behaviors is present in your relationship. You will define exactly what your boundary is. You will communicate with crystal clear clarity, and you will be prepared to execute the consequence. No drama, no negotiation, no turning back. Either you do this, or you accept that you chose to be a doormat. There is no third option. Share in the comments which of these behaviors you find most difficult not to forgive. Be specific. Be honest. Your courage can inspire another man to reclaim his dignity. But more importantly, your comment is your public commitment. It's you telling the world and yourself, as of today, I will no longer tolerate the intolerable. The court of your integrity is in session. The defendant is systematic disrespect. The judge is you. What will the verdict be? Life is too short to spend on your knees. Stand up, set your boundaries, reclaim your respect, or die trying. Because between living without dignity and dying with it, the second option is always superior. You don't need her permission to respect yourself. You don't need her approval to have boundaries. You don't need her love to have worth. You just need the courage to say, this ends now. And when you say that, and more importantly, when you act accordingly, something magical happens. Either she finally sees you as the man you are, or she leaves your life and makes space for someone who does see you. In both cases, you win. But the greatest gain isn't her respecting you. It's you respecting yourself. It's you looking in the mirror and seeing a man of integrity looking back. It's you sleeping in peace, knowing you haven't betrayed your own values. It's you finally living aligned with who you truly are. That's the real prize. Everything else is a consequence. The final question is simple. Will you continue slowly dying in the relationship you have, or will you be reborn as the man you deserve to be? The answer you give to that question, not in words, but in actions, will define the rest of your life. Choose wisely. Choose courageously. Choose now.